Okay, so the title of that song is Watermark. It's called Watermark. And watermark in the dictionary is the encoding of an identifying symbol to assure authenticity. So the concept of a watermark that we are is that God has encoded a watermark, which is you, which is me, which proves our authenticity. I don't know about you, but I get goosebumps when I think that. That there is something that is so clear, so certain, so pure, so truthful, so filled with truth, that it is proven time and time and time and time and time again. You know, I went to Vancouver really thinking about my ministry and where I wanted to go next. And the title of the conference was, What's Next? And I was the first session. So my job was to get up and, tell us what can we do this week? What's this week about? And all I did really in a 20-minute talk was get up and say, I am God. And it caused an amazing ripple throughout the entire conference. Because we're not used to saying, I am God. So clearly, so fearlessly. And when we say I am God and live I am God, then everything else falls into place. My talent falls into place, my success falls into place, my body falls into place, my mind falls into place, my relationships fall into place, because God is perfect. Every aspect of God is perfect. And if I am the watermark that God has imprinted on this being, James Mellon, then everything in my life must be, by the very definition of God, perfect. So that's really what I got up to speak of this week, last Monday. And it was really spectacular to watch that rippling effect throughout the week. For a religion, a philosophy, a way of life, which is how Ernest Holmes describes this, a religion, a philosophy, a way of life, that tells us who we are. I think we have not really gotten back to that central truth of this teaching. And it's my desire and my intention to get back to that central truth. So it's perfect that I would come back to the center today, and the song that we're singing is Watermark. That's why when I listened to this morning, I just cracked wide open. So I want to go back to these lyrics. You were carved out of the sea, watermarked by your ancestry, in a tug of war between the tide and me. So, a tug of war between the relative and the absolute. How many of you have some relatives that are annoying? Right? And I don't mean those relatives like aunts, uncles, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, all that stuff, although they could probably be part of it. But I do mean all the relative facts in your life, all the things in your life. How many of those things in your life take you away from remembering who you are? And how many of them actually get your attention to such a degree that they become who you are? I am this job that's driving me crazy. I am this relationship that doesn't make sense. I am this financial distress. Well, that's what this song is here telling us. And I love this because it sounds like God is singing it through me. You are in a tug of war between the tide and me. Sharon gave me that beautiful quote last week, which I used in Vancouver, and then Doug was telling me, it's been all over the internet between all the ministers, the Rumi quote, I am not the drop of the ocean, I am the ocean in the drop. And that's the same thing as saying, I am God, and being good with it and being clear with it. And the thing is, the tug of war between the relative and the absolute only happens because we don't understand what the relative is. We don't understand what all this stuff is that's getting our attention. We think it's real. We think when we're having financial distress that it's real. All it is a manifestation of what I've done with my mind. And there's the rub, isn't it? Yeah. Because I think it's real, so I'm going to continue doing with my mind what created it in the first place. I kind of like this. What am I going to focus on? What am I going to decide to do? And it truly is, purely, at a pure level, it truly is enough to remember who you are and watch it all fade away. It is enough. Now, there are a lot of tools out there And we use one of them, spiritual mind treatment. But even spiritual mind treatment, we don't need it if we get this first concept so clearly. Then, because frankly, spiritual mind treatment is really just what you're doing with your mind. You're treating all the time. You're treating when you're getting upset. You're treating when you're getting angry. You're treating when you're in euphoric love. You're treating when you're making love. That probably benefits you. We're always treating. But it's what we're treating from that's at the core of this teaching. Who's treating? So, what felt like loss, goes on to say, was a victory. Because you were swept ashore like bottles holding prayers. Isn't that a beautiful image? You as a bottle, holding all of the truth inside of you. You and I contain all that has happened up to this point in time. Do you know that? Do you know that you contain in your mind the DNA, the divine natural authority of everything that has come up to this point in time? Everything. How can you be one with the universe and be left out of that equation? There was a brilliant man who did a quantum physics talk, and it was really interesting because he did a 3-hour quantum physics talk. Within the first 20 minutes, I literally, in my head, was seeing all these heads explode in front of me. All these people sitting there going, oh, wow, yeah, what? And I was sitting in the back of the room because I figure if I'm in the back of the room, I can lay on the floor when I'm about to pass out. And I did. I finally said, I got to lay down for this. And I did. I laid down, and I just let him talk, get him keep talking. And he was like, the particles were getting so small, my head was about to blow off my head. And then I said to myself, I said, James, because I call myself by my first name. I was like, James, you already know all of this, so chill out. And then I got it. I was like, oh my God, if I already know all of this, why am I getting freaked out because I'm not understanding all of this right at the moment? And I got it. And oh my God, the heavens parted and the choir came out. It was beautiful. I even got off the floor and sat back down. I did. And I sat back down, and the person next to me said, I should do that. And I wanted to say to them, you really should, but you have to know what I just did. It was awesome. You already know all of this. You know everything there is to know. You just have to decide that you know it. And then allow yourself to catch up. Catch up. You were carved out of the earth, safe and sound, in your second birth. Now I love this concept. My second birth. Actually, I feel I'm probably on my 50th birth. But I like the idea of second birth just being when we come into this plane of action. Because I don't know. I don't know if the spirits are surrounding me. I don't know if my earth angels are talking to me. I don't really get involved in all that. And please don't think I'm dissing that. I'm not. But it's not part of my experience. I don't talk to angels. I don't channel other people. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm enough to deal with in my world. Really. And I bless all those people that do all of those things. They add immensely to our culture. But I'm not one of them. So I just get this concept that if I am one with all of the universe, and I am, then I have access to all of the universe. Which means I have access to all the wisdom of the universe, going that way and going that way. Even in the future, way down there, billions of years later, I have access to that, which is why so many people seem crazy. Think about it. The people that come up with these ideas and you're like, really? Think about the people that heard someone talk about flying before we knew how to fly. They're like, yeah, this person, put them away. So there's so much to tap into. That's what I consider the second birth. And that's where we are. Gravity says, gravity has tied your ankle to the shore as a lighthouse tamed the endless ocean war. Gravity has tied your ankle to the shore. So, how many of you feel like you're a little bit earthbound? You're a little bit, stuck on the shore and you just want to fly. I've had that experience. How many of you have had a dream at night that you're flying? Oh, you should have all had this dream. Who has not had that dream? Sure, now they're like, I'm not admitting to that. Thank you, Ronnie. So, if you haven't had that dream, tell yourself to have that dream. Just tell yourself. When you go to sleep at night, don't you think, for instance, I thought it was a wise idea to watch 3 episodes of Scandal on Friday night, when I was left alone in my hotel room for the evening. It took place in a hotel at one point where someone was murdered in a bed. I finished watching my 3 episodes of Scandal and then looked around my room and went, I am alone for the rest of this evening. In a hotel in Vancouver, most people have left. No one even knows I'm here. And literally, I got up and put the chain on the door. Why? Because my mind works that way. And I had to tell myself, please don't go to sleep and start dreaming about murder. You stopped watching Dexter for a reason. So, in an ever-changing world of facts, you and I are the lighthouse. I'll catch up. In an ever-changing world of facts, you and I are the lighthouse. We get to be the lighthouse. That doesn't mean that we're tied to the ground. It means that we have the capacity to shine the light on these people that are before us and see God. And by seeing God, create more of God. Create more of that truth and that reality. I like the concept of me being a lighthouse. I love the concept that we are all lighthouses. And that when we get to shine our light, everyone around us is illuminated. Right? So it goes on to say, against the calming light, our silhouettes are changing shape. You will change, and I know there's a lot of talk about changing. You will change the very minute you decide to. It's really that easy. You will change, your life will change, the facts of your world will change the very minute you decide to change. And the quickest way to do that is to tell yourself that you know who you are. And in a world where you know who you are, you're not afraid to change. We will have our board meeting today, our annual meeting today, rather, and I hope all of you will stay, because it will be very short, but I will tell you where we're going and how I see change as the most prominent factor of what's happening at this center. He goes on to say, the stories you've been told have made you brave. Such inheritance was formed within the sand, like the shells you gather in the safety of your hands. How many of you collect rocks? I loved your hand went up so fast. I know. If you come to my house, and many of you have, you will see rocks all over my house. It drives Kevin crazy. I go places and I come back with more rocks to deposit in different places. It's gotten to the point where I have so many rocks now, I now put them out back in pots. But I collect rocks. And when I was listening to the song this morning, I was like, well, that's why I collect rocks. I am the rock. I'm drawn to these pieces of earth. And I love bringing them from all over the world. One of my best friends, Richard, went to Rome before I had and came back with this piece from the Sistine Chapel. I hope I shouldn't say this online. He probably stole it. But he came home and gave it to me and said, this is from the Sistine Chapel. I just want you to have this. I was like, the other day I was watering my plants. I put that rock in a plant. I forgot that it was the Sistine Chapel plant. And I started to take it and I went, no rock is any more spectacular than any other rock. Just like no person is any more spectacular than any other person. You know, when I said to everyone at this conference, I said, I'm going to stand here and say something really audacious. I am God. I said, but there is a problem with that equation if it isn't followed with, and so are you. And that's where the ego comes in and the arrogance of that comes into play. And people say, it's so arrogant. I feel so egotistical to stand here and say, I am God. That's because if you don't follow it with, and so are you, you're not getting it. So, this is my favorite verse of the song. Dive in with your eyes closed, for the life you were born to claim, and the water will be paralyzed. Dive in with your eyes closed for the life you were born to claim, and the water will be paralyzed. That's another way of saying you have the power in your mind to create whatever it is you decide to create, and all around you will come into perfect play. The title of my talk today is I Could Be Wrong. Did you love that? After all that. And I could be wrong about all of it. But here's the deal about this. I must be willing to be wrong, or I'm not willing to learn. And Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, is all of our spiritual leaders, really. And I hope you'll all go online and look for him, Dr. Ken Gordon, and just listen to him speak. He's a brilliant speaker. But he stood up there, and his first beginning of his talk was, I could be wrong. I have to be willing. And as soon as he said it, I wrote it down and said, I got to say this on Sunday. Because I'm really good at that. I'm actually really good. I'm the one that says, I know nothing. Now what can I know? And I'm talking about even the most certain truths that we are willing to hold. Are we willing to hold them lightly enough that a bigger truth can fill its place? No matter what it is. Am I willing to be wrong? And I have to be honest, and many of you know me. Being wrong was not one of my talents. Thank you, Bob. But you know what? It is now. It is now. I am so willing to be wrong. Just don't tell me I'm wrong. No, I am so willing to be wrong. Really, I'm willing to be wrong. And I'm willing to know more. I am teachable. Can everyone say that? I am teachable. Can you live your life that way? Can you live your life in a way that you are eminently teachable at all times? Even when you're the teacher. So what happens is that we get something and we start wanting to teach everybody about it. And we're so certain about it that we don't leave room for all the things that may challenge it. You know, I'm teaching Essential Ernest Holmes right now. Well, I taught the first 2 classes. Rita taught the second 2 classes. I am back. But a lot of questions. A lot of people questioning what I'm saying. And here's the deal. If I defend it, I miss the point. However, if I can make sense out of it and find out, is there something to this questioning? And I may end up saying, no, this is what I believe for now. At this moment. This is what we have. So I love that quote of dive in with your eyes closed. Dive in. I mean, it's not easy to dive into something with your eyes closed, is it? It's hard. It's scary. For the life you were born to claim, and the water will be paralyzed. Over 2,000 years ago, John, the apostle, wrote in the Bible, "But the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you." The Holy Spirit, of course, meaning divine intuition, that in you that thinks and knows the truth. And the Father, meaning the oneness that we all are, will send in my name. There's something in you that is just ready to be birthed. Something new in you that's ready to come forward. Some idea, some creative thought, some passionate, brilliant design that is only going to be made through your mind. And it goes on in the song to say, and the flutter of your earnest heart, it will fill the silent seas, and all will be restored in your memory by the courage you contain. All will be restored in your memory. So, if I have in my mind the capacity to tap into everything that's come up to this point, and if I have in my mind the capacity to tap into everything that's going this way, and there is no idea too big for me to not only understand, but to act on and create from, what is it that holds me back? What is it that stops me from just diving in, eyes closed? There are many roads to wisdom, I must say. Yesterday at the Vancouver airport, I was sitting next to a man who, I was talking to Reverend Dr. Maureen Hoyt, and she was sitting across from me, and there was a man sitting next to me who was a Sikh from India, and he had a big red turban on, and he was sitting there, and clearly he had been eavesdropping and listening to everything I was saying, and I was going on and on about the music at the conference, which I do believe needs some revamping. I was going on about things, not complaining, mind you, having an opinion, and as I was talking about all of this and about God, there was a moment when Maureen got up to go to the bathroom, and the man turned next to me and he said, "Are you a rock singer?" And I said, "No, I'm a minister." He said, "You look like a rock singer." Again with the "you don't look like a minister." It's really funny. And I said, no, I'm a minister. And he says, oh. And I said, and what do you do? He said, well, I'm a Sikh. And I said, oh, I just read a quote from your people. And so I had it on my iPad, and I read him my quote. And he said, oh, and he pulls out a piece of paper from his bag, and it's written in Punjab. So I couldn't even read it, clearly. And he starts reading, and he starts giving me a lesson. And here was the lesson, in a very short, very simple lesson. He said to me, he says, basically it's this. There are holy books to every religion, and they hold the key to everything. The problem is, we read them, we don't live them. And of course, I start crying. And the tears are coming down my eyes. He goes, I've not offended you. I said, no, it's what I'm trying to get in my head. He said, so all of this stuff that we all teach, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Because unless we're willing to live it, and he said that what this article said was, if you're not willing to live it, don't even bother reading it. It's a waste of your time. I thought, oh my God, in Vancouver, and he was on his way to Australia. He was coming to LA to go to Australia. And there was this connection between us from that point on. He sat like 3 rows behind me. When he got to the airport, he just did this to say goodbye. It was really beautiful. And I thought, how funny that I started the week in Vancouver with I Am God. And I ended my last moment in Vancouver with, now live it. So, my job going forward is going to be to figure out ways for us as a spiritual community to live this teaching. To not only be audacious enough to say, I am God, but to be that we say. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what's going to change. I don't know. I'm happy to say I don't know. I am willing, I am teachable. I am willing to let God show me the way to take our community into such a promised land, I feel like Moses, into a promised land of divine design that allows each and every one of us to drop all of the crap that doesn't work in our lives and to stay centered and focused on the truth that right where I am, God is, because God is what and who I am. Will you join me in that? Yes. Namaste. I'm telling you, you should send me away more often.